Taken to the streets of Malaysia, they're calling for an overhaul of the country's electoral system. They've gathered at various points across the capital, Kuala Lumpur, intent on marching into Independence Square. Police have barricaded the square with barbed wire as part of a court order against demonstrations there. Well, the organizers of the rally are known as the Bersih. That's a term meaning clean in Malay. And they say the country's electoral roll is full of inaccuracies, including dead people and duplicate names. They want the entire system to be overhauled to make sure Malaysians can cast their ballots abroad. And they believe the Election Commission is biased in favor of the government and wants its members to resign. Prime Minister Najib Razak insists the right laws are in place to stop irregularities or frauds. Let's bring in Harry Fawcett. He filed this update a little earlier from Kuala Lumpur.
In 2011, the Bersih 2.0 rally, this is Bersih 3.0, at that stage, protesters were trying to get to Merdeka Stadium, Independence Stadium, to hold their protest, and police intervened with pretty strong tactics, water cannon, tear gas, and the rest of it. Of the 20,000 people that protested, some 1,600 were arrested. Since then, though, things have changed somewhat. Najib Razak, the Prime Minister, has made a speech in September 2011 outlining a number of liberalising reforms. He instituted a parliamentary select committee to look at the issue of electoral reform, about which this protest is. And that committee reported just a couple of weeks ago with 22 recommendations for reform. As far as Bersih is concerned, which means clean in the Malay language, it's about cleaning up the electoral process. They say the reforms don't go far enough, and that even if they happen in time for the next election, which is due, we think, in June, even if they happen, they'll be carried out by the Electoral Commission, which they say isn't a sufficiently independent body. So they are determined to carry out their protest nonetheless.
A US-based rights group.
And they're now still firing the other canister, trying to disperse the last of the protesters.
Harry, the line is not very clear, but I will try and keep this going with you because we'd just like to get a sense of exactly how much police presence there is right now.
There's a sizable police presence. So I've just taken my gas mask off, so I'm hoping you can hear me better now. A sizable police presence. We thought there were about 1,000 officers in the vicinity where we were, and they were backed up by Federal Reserve Unit riot police as well. The numbers of protesters are less clear. The police at one stage, local media reporting about 25,000. There were some reports going up to 50,000. Certainly there were a number of locations where protesters would amass, and each of those had several thousand in them. And so now they are all but dispersed. There are a few yellow-shirted Bersih protesters still running around, still trying to face off against the police. But largely, most of them have gone, and the police now look like they're just mopping up.
And Harry, just tell us exactly what the protesters are calling for and why they've come out onto the streets today.
Well, this is a long-running organization. Bersih stands for clean in the Bahasa Melayu local language. What they want is a clean electoral process. They want electoral reform in this country. The first protest happened in 2007, the second last year in 2011, and then during that process there were scenes such as this, perhaps even wider scale, although I have to say I'm just in one area, so it could be that there are similar scenes happening elsewhere in Kuala Lumpur. In 2011, 1,600 people were arrested. There was heavy use of tear gas and water cannon. After that, the Prime Minister Najib Razak announced in a speech in September that he would be making a number of liberalising reforms, among them looking at electoral reform, and a parliamentary select committee, which he set up to do that, reported earlier this month. Its recommendations were approved by Parliament in the first instance. But the protesters say that those reforms don't go far enough. They might not be in place in time for the next election, which could happen as early as June. And as well as that, they will be carried out by the Electoral Commission, which they say is a politically biased. Want to see that disbanded entirely. They had wanted to protest in the Independence Square. They were prevented from doing so by a court order. At the last minute, they tried to run the square and have been very quickly dispatched by police, water cannon and tear gas.
All right, Harry Fawcett, thank you very much for the time being. Harry reporting that Malaysian police have fired tear gas and water cannons to disperse protesters that are out in the streets in Kuala Lumpur, the Malaysian capital.